Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to the last Symptom Monday live stream. Back in business. Sounds like, oh my goodness, a car with a completely flat tire. The rubber flapping off the tire. Just drove down the road. That's interesting. How's everybody doing? Everybody who's here. If, if you can hear me and see me, chat at me and let me know. Say hi. It has happened in the past where I have been talking along, thinking everything's fine, and nobody could see me or hear me. So that's why I always do that check at the beginning. Got a few people on locals, it looks like. Got somebody on Rumble. Good to have yous. Julie, okay. Julie can see me. I can see you too. Oh, well, I mean, I can see what you're writing. Hi, Ann. So nice to have you here today. How y'all doing? As always, the first part of the live stream will be open to everybody. And then the second part, we'll go to supporters only on locals. That's when we talk about the more controversial and titillating stuff. Good. Good to know it, Julie. Glad to have you here today. How was your weekend? And how was your weekend? Did you guys do anything fun? The video is kind of blurry, so that's not just my eyeballs. I got a kind of a different setup here because this I was using a large screen, this external screen, and the external screen kind of went on me. So I'm back to using a little tiny screen that I can barely see on. Hi, David. Good to have you here. Julie says that she got to spend time with her son. Got a Labrador puppy. That sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like a lot of work, too. I remember when my dogs were pups, and that was a full-time job. That was last year this time. That ate up almost all of my time for the first couple months of summer. And they're still pretty rambunctious, but it takes them a year or so to start calming down a little bit, getting into their routines and those sorts of things. What color is your lab? I got invited to a party, not a party. I got invited to somebody's house last night, a gathering, and we went down into her basement, and she said, "Check this out," and she opens the door, and I mean, her husband has a bar down in the basement, which is the finest looking bar I think I've ever seen in my whole life, and there's enough booze and high end bourbons and scotches and rums and all the spirits you can imagine, enough to last like 50 years. It was awesome. Now, having said that, uh, I I had probably a little bit too much. um, I was enjoying myself so much that I went for one more glass, and it it knocked me for a loop. So this morning, it's a wonder that I got up this morning, was not suffering any ill effects from that. But boy, it was nice. Yeah, dogs are a lot of work, but worth it. I've had people say that they don't want a dog because eventually you have to say goodbye, and they don't like having to go through that pain. Which, to each his own. But I think the rewards are worth that pain. And that's my way of looking at it. And another way of I look at it is, what is life? If what is life if you live it, never allowing yourself to get close to anybody or anything? What kind of life is that? So the pain is not pleasant, but worthwhile, I think. You know the old saying, better to have, how's it go? Better to have lived and loved than to not have loved at all, or something like that. David, you got any dogs? So here's what I've had on my mind. I don't have a big list of things today, but if there's anything you guys would like to talk about, I'm willing to talk about that. But I wanted to share with you that this weekend I was watching this documentary about Steve Martin. Oh, David's got two pit bulls. That's it, Ann. Ann's got it, the saying. Better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Yeah, that's the way I look at the world. That's the way I think about things. No regrets. So I was watching this documentary about Steve Martin, beloved actor and comedian here in the United States. Probably you guys know him outside of the United States too. He's got the white hair. Was the dad on Father of the Bride back in the late 90s. And what a sad documentary for me, watching him. I wish that I had Steve Martin's phone number so I could just call him up and say, Steve, let me present some ideas to you, or some observations that I've made, and see what you think about them. He's somebody who doesn't know of the two distinct value systems that exist in life. He only knows the one, the commercial value system. And I know this because, first of all, he spent most of his life feeling hollow. And, I'm not going to give away the entire documentary, but it just made me sad to see him sad for reasons that he doesn't need to be sad. Like, it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary for him or anybody to have to feel that way in life. But to give you an example, he had like these various interests throughout life. But when he would have an accomplishment in one of these interests, like let's say being in the movies. He wants to be in the movies. Now he's in the movies. He's making movies, producing his own movies. The reviewers, the negative reviews, would just like suck the joy out of the thing for him. And this was a theme that I kept seeing in everything that he does, is if it doesn't garner praise, then he loses interest in it. You might have noticed he's not in movies anymore. He gave up movies. And it was because he says he'd make a movie, and then couple years would pass and it would just be another title at the video store. Now, think about this. What if the reward was not in whether people liked the movie or not, but whether he liked the movie? What if that was the reward? Like, he puts all this work into it, gets the movie made, and now it's something that he really likes. Then would it matter what other people think? I mean, I know it's a commercial product. Like, you're trying to sell the movie. You're not just trying to make a movie just because. But you're hoping it makes money and everything. But still, if the reward for Steve Martin was the accomplishment itself, or the thing itself that he creates, and he's satisfied with it, then why would it matter what other people think, or whether the reviewers all are in love with it or not? See, that's that commercial value system where people have to say it has value before it can have value. And that's sad. He was in this movie called Pennies from Heaven. And he spent all this time learning how to tap dance. You know, that's not easy. I would imagine it's not easy. I've never tried it because I know it's probably really, really hard. And it's going to require a lot of dedication, a lot of time. And so he does this, learns how to tap dance, spends like 6 months learning how to tap dance just for a couple of scenes in this movie. And then he never does it again. He's talking, I think he was talking to Jerry Seinfeld in this documentary. And he says, yeah, I learned that and I never did it again. And the reason is because Pennies from Heaven, that movie, got really bad reviews. Like, all the reviews were bad. And so all this work that he had put into learning how to tap dance and into making this movie, which was his favorite movie when he was making it, he thought it was going to be great. And then it doesn't get positive reviews, and so suddenly the movie isn't worth anything. He wasted all of his time learning how to tap dance. You see what I'm saying? From his perspective, he's just wasted all of his time. The value is like any value that he thought the movie had. Once he gets the feedback from other people and they don't think it's great, now he doesn't think it's great either. Penny says that it's a shame he feels that way. She loves his work too. Yeah, I hated kind of watching the documentary because it made me sad that he lives that way. Trying to think of some other parts of the movie. Well, just all constantly and totally influenced by what other people think. What if people value it, then he values it. And it's not surprising that he is a major art collector, like fine art collector. Let me ask you this. When you're talking about art and art's value, where does a piece of art get its value? Well, when you're talking about the art world and dealing in that business, say, or being a collector, the value comes from what other people think. But what if Steve Martin were to realize that whether anybody wants that art or not, it still has value? Or anything you do, any accomplishment you have, a thing can have value on its own, whether anybody ever recognizes its value or likes it or not. And that's the type of value that people have. That's the type of value that tomatoes have. I think I've talked about in the past that not too awful long ago, everybody in the United States thought that tomatoes were deadly poisonous. They wouldn't eat them. And so think about 100 years of tomatoes growing in the United States. Everybody thinking they're poisonous, doesn't want anything to do with them. Now, they would plant them as like a decorative plant, but they wouldn't eat the fruit, the tomatoes. Since nobody wanted the tomatoes and nobody was eating the tomatoes, does that mean that the tomatoes had no value? No, they have value whether anybody wants to eat them or not, because of what they are. And that's the second value system, is that things have value because of what they are. So their existence brings it into the world. Barley, you're going to need to calm down, old buddy. Hey. I'm going to stick a collar on you. A collar he won't like wearing, I promise you that. So you guys think about that there are things that have value just in and of themselves. Whether anybody, it's like a flower. I always think about like a flower in a field, out in some field somewhere where nobody will ever go or see it. And you say, well, does that have value? Nobody's ever going to see it. Nobody knows it's there. And the answer is that, yeah, whether anybody sees it or not, it still has value. Guys, hey, stop distracting me. So what do you guys think about that? You might know other people in your life like that. I think Jerry Seinfeld, you hear Jerry Seinfeld, he doesn't care what anybody thinks. And I like him even more for that reason. So he's sitting down and they're talking, him and Steve Martin. And Jerry Seinfeld is just kind of like, I guess the term would be like kind of amazed or really interested in how Steve Martin's thinking is so different from his. But then you see an interview with Jerry Seinfeld, like he just made a movie, like a Pop-Tart movie, and he's making the rounds. They're doing interviews with him and everything, and they're saying like, what if this movie fails? What about if there's bad reviews and stuff? And he's like, I don't care. I made the movie for me. It was interesting to me. That's why I put all the energy and time in it. Me. It was interesting to me. I like it. I'm happy with the way it turned out. I don't care what anybody else thinks. And that's a healthy person right there. Remember this, that there's two types of ways of caring what other people think. Unhealthy people care in the wrong way, and healthy people care in the right way. So when you go from being unhealthy to being healthy, it's not like you don't care what people think. It's that you don't care what people think in the way that you used to, or in unhealthy ways. And so you've heard me say this before, I'm sure. I mean, I probably sound like a broken record sometimes when we do these live streams, especially when I'm going off the cuff, because I repeat myself a lot, but it's worth hearing. Perplexed. Yeah, Penny, that's the word. I was kind of perplexed. Yeah, when Steve Martin is expressing himself honestly, Jerry Seinfeld's kind of like perplexed. Like, that's interesting. It's an interesting way of thinking. So the healthy way of, so let's say the unhealthy way first. The unhealthy way of caring what people think. The unhealthy way of caring what people think is the perception that what they think has an effect on your value. That's the unhealthy way of thinking. So what does that look like in real life? Well, it's like if I work on something and I show it to people and they don't love it as much as I do, then it has less value. You see, all the value is in what people think, not in the thing itself. So that's the unhealthy way of caring what people think. The perspective that what they think determines realities about me. So If everybody thinks I'm stupid, then I must be. But that's not how life works. I'm not stupid. I'm not. What people think has no bearing on the reality of whether I'm stupid or not. Whether I'm stupid or not is what determines that, right? Not whether people think I'm stupid. So what's the healthy way of caring what people think? The healthy way of caring what people think is in the knowing that what people think reveals things to you about them. And if you're healthy, that means by nature, by definition, what being healthy is that means that you look at people and you recognize their inherent value and you value them as people. So if you value somebody as a person, what does that mean? What's that gonna what kind of behavior is that naturally going to result in? It's naturally going to result in you being interested in that person, of you wanting to know about that person, of you being curious about them. So you see, that is how, Barley, buddy, you are really testing me. Hey, go lay down. So that's the healthy way of caring what people think, is that go lay down. Hey. I know what I was saying. I'm trying to think whether to put this collar on him or not. So when you value people as individuals, that means it naturally creates like this interest in other people. And how do you get to know other people? Well, you get them to open up and share their thoughts and stuff, their thoughts and their feelings with you. You see? That, in that way, healthy people care what other people think because they're interested in people. The way they do not care how other people think is in it determines something about me. More specifically, it determines something about my worth. If that's why I say in recovery, you got to be willing to have people mad at you, and you got to be willing to cause conflict, not for the sake of causing conflict, but what I'm saying is that going from being unhealthy to being healthy inherently requires conflict, because the reason why a person is unhealthy is because all those people around them are also unhealthy, family members and stuff like that. Now think about being unhealthy and living in that environment, and you're unhealthy yourself. Everybody's doing this dance. Well, what happens when you get healthy? Well, it inherently involves not thinking and behaving in ways that you used to behave. And so you begin to buck the system, right? It's like a wrench in the unhealthy gears of that environment. So what does that mean? It means if you want to get healthy, there's going to be conflict with the people who are used to you dancing to the tune that they're all dancing to, and now you're stopping doing that, and now you're creating conflict. And what does that mean? It means people are going to get mad at you. They're going to be unhappy with you. They're going to fight back against that. So do you see, if you don't care about what people think in the wrong way or the unhealthy way, you're willing to do that. You're willing to cause that conflict anyway, because you know it's the right thing to do. You know it's necessary for you to get from here to there. And it's so much easier to do if you can begin working on not caring what other people think, not assigning it any value in the wrong way, I mean. So what I'm saying is that you're not living your life anymore based on what you imagine other people will think. You're living your life based on what you decide is best for your life, what is necessary for your life, what is the healthiest thing for your life, and things of that nature. All right, I'm going to go to locals only now. If you guys are on the other platforms like YouTube or Rumble, think about joining us over on locals. You can do that by going to thelastsymptom.locals.com, or by downloading the locals.com app on from the App Store, and then just searching for The Last Symptom by Brian Barnett within. We'll love to have you over there. Now we're going to go into the second half of the live stream where all the really grotesque and horrible and haunting things come out. You don't want to miss that, so be sure to join us. Let's see if I can remember how I do this. Okay, locals supporters only. Update stream.